Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson in this Python Fundamentals series. I've realized that we haven't yet covered loops, so we're labeling this lesson 4.5, and we're going to be covering loops. Alright, so loops essentially repeat actions automatically. They help to save time and reduce the amount of code that you write. So I've conjured up a simple analogy for you guys here. So imagine you want to fold this sock 10 times, right? Without a loop, you'd say fold sock 1, fold sock 2, fold sock 3, and so forth and so forth. And so you can imagine this is very tedious, right? And writing a lot of code. Whereas with a loop, you simply say repeat the fold 10 times. Excuse me. Okay, so in Python we have two main types of loops. We have for loops and we have while loops. So a for loop, this is when you know how many times you want to loop through an item. Whereas a while loop is you're telling the computer program to continue in this operation or continue with this loop until a certain condition is met. So first of all, we're going to look at a for loop because it's more simple to understand. So here we have a basic example of a for loop. So we have for I in range. So what does this mean? So range is the number of times that you want this loop to iterate. Okay? So in this example, we're trying to print the word hello, similar to our folding the sock example. And so we're going to print hello 5 times because our range is 5. Okay? I, in this example, is the counter and it's short for index. So we can label this whatever we want. We can label this a number, we can call this whatever we want. It's very similar to a variable, right? But for convention, it's usually I. We use I, okay? Which is short for index and it acts as the counter. What do I mean by that? So in iteration number 1, it's going to say I equals 0. Iteration number 2, I will be equal to 1, index 1. And then in each time, it's going to be printing hello. Alright? So hello will be I equals 0. Hello will be I equals 1. Hello will be I equals 2. So it's counting and it's going to keep going over this loop, printing hello, 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 until it gets to index number 4. And then its range is complete. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In other words, 5 iterations, and then it's going to stop. So it's going to print hello 5 times. Okay? And so that is what a for loop is. So here we have another example of a for loop, whereby we have a list, right? 3 items in our list. We've got a variable called fruits. And so now this time, as you can see, we have changed our I to fruit, just for naming sake and to make things easier to see or understand at a glance. So this word fruit could easily be I, it could be Bob, it could be whatever we want to call it, right? So we have for fruit in fruits, process each item. Alright, so for fruit and fruits, so this would be the code here. Fruits equals, for fruits and fruits, print fruit. Okay, so as opposed to saying print hello, because we have a list here, it's going to take each index of the list. So it's going to print apple, then it's going to print banana, then it's going to print cherry. Alright, so we have 3 items in this list. So if you look at the last example, we had this range function, whereas now we're using for loops to loop over a list. Alright, works in the same way. Remember, this fruit or this I character just stands for index, and it's going to loop over each item in the list. Alright, so it's going to print apple, banana, then cherry. Alright, so here we loop through a list of fruits. So Python goes through each item and prints it. This is cleaner and faster than writing print apple, print banana, and so forth. Next, the second main loop that we have within Python is known as a while loop. So remember that while loops keep running as long as a condition is true. And so in this case, we're going to print the number 0. Alright, so we're going to count. We've got this count variable. Remember, this can be whatever we want. So we've got count equals 0. While count is less than 3, so this is our condition, then we want to say counting, and then we want to display the count variable. So in this first iteration, it's going to say print counting 0. Okay, and then the last piece of code that we want to add is that we want to update our counter, right? So that we can eventually break out of this loop. So we say we're going to add 1 to the count and display that answer. So after the first iteration, count is going to go from 0 to 1. Okay, so this count variable now becomes 1, and we repeat the process, and we say, okay, check the condition. So count is now 1. Is count less than 3? Yes, it is. So it's going to print counting count. Okay, then it's going to update again. So count is going to be 2. Check the condition. Is count less than 3? Yes. It's going to print counting and then 2, and it's going to update the count to 3. Now it's going to say count is going to be 3. So it's going to check the condition. Is count less than 3? No, it's equal to 3. And so it's going to stop there. Okay, so this is a while loop. Here's another real world analogy. So the example is that you're knocking at the door, and so you keep knocking until someone answers. Okay, so that's the condition. You're going to keep knocking until someone answers. We're going to stop knocking. Okay, so a while loop is like knocking on the door. You keep knocking while nobody answers. When someone opens the door, the condition becomes false, and so we stop. Okay, next we also have what is known as a break. So breaks are just used to exit a loop early. So in this example, the loop is going to stop when I reaches 5, and so it's just useful when you want to stop based on a condition. Okay, so here we have another example. So very similar, we've got a for loop here. We're going to check a condition. If I is equal to 5, then we're simply going to break. Otherwise, we're going to continuously print I. Okay, we also have another condition of how we can exit a loop or skip over certain items within a loop or a list, for example. Okay, so right now we have again another for loop, and it's going to be iterating from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but now we've got this condition. Okay, if I is equal to 2, if this variable is equal to 2, then we're going to skip that number as opposed to printing it, right? So what will happen here is we'll say I equals 0. We'll check, is I equal to 2? No, it's not. And so we're going to print I. We'll then do the same again for 1. Check the condition, is 1 equal to 2? No, it's not. So then we're going to print I again. We'll print 1. But now, in this case, I will be 2. So we check the condition, is I equal to 2? Yes, it is. And so this continue loop then activates. This continue keyword then activates, right? And so it skips over printing 2. So what we'll see is 0, 1, then it will jump straight to 3. It will skip over 2 in this case, right? So that's the use of continue. It's used to skip. Let's just do a quick recap. So we use for loops when you know how many times you want to repeat a list or repeat an action. We use while loops when you want to keep going until something changes, until a condition is met. And we use break and continue for extra control, whether we want to skip or break out of a loop for whatever reason.